And welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining the Battery Insiders podcast. Today, live from Berlin from the Future Battery Forum. And I'm delighted to have Lina with me, the CEO of Nidec Energy. And maybe we can start with that. Tell us about this joint venture with the CEO.
Thanks, Simon. Yes, so Nidec Energy is a joint venture between Nidec and Nidec Industries, which is a really big global player, Japanese-owned company. Very, very active in motors, inverters, but also recently within the BESS industry. And then our second shareholder is Freyr. So obviously that is where the cell supply will come from. And we in Nidec Energy are aiming to manufacture modules and DC blocks, all based in Europe.
Great, no, thanks for sharing that. And I know you already have done quite a few things from Northvolt and other players, so you have quite a stint there in the cell makers as well. If we now look at this, at Europe and the European battery regulation, there's a lot of buzz about that. We had some conversations here as well. It's something which has happened since the last Future of the Battery Forum as well. But maybe if you could share a bit on the pack architecture, also in connection of the regulation.
Yeah. So we are actually also exploring this in terms of what do we have to do from a legislation and what we are expected to do, and also are there any ways to create a business model around this that actually don't make it a loss game, right? If you see what I mean. I'm really in favor of this legislation, especially the passport, etc. And I'm really, proud that Europe is actually taking the lead here and they're pushing the ethics in battery industry. So I'm quite delighted that we are going to have to comply with this. You may be, feeling. That is hard, it's difficult, nobody knows exactly what you have to do, but this is the bits that we just have to learn, have to explore. And for us, of course, being the middle part of this, doing the modules and the DC blocks, selling to integrators, and then actually procuring the cells, that puts us in the middle of this chain in terms of, do we take back and do everything, or how much do we push on to the cell supplier, and actually having collaborative agreements on how we do this. So it's really important that you take into account your whole supply chain here and not just try to figure out your own solution.
Well, that's good to hear. I remember the panel yesterday, there was also quite some sentiment from the industry side, right? There's a lot to comply with, but as you say, it could also become an opportunity. And I guess also kind of as a rather newer player, even though you have a big history there, right, through your partnership or through the companies who came together, but how can you really adapt to this regulation, and maybe how can you embrace that as one of these newer players?
Yeah, for me, it's really just about understanding it and making it as profitable as you can for you, and trying to turn it into something positive. And also, I visited a Chinese cell supplier last week. And they are also preparing for this because they obviously want to sell their product in Europe. So in one way, we are actually competing in level playing fields here, because it does apply to those who want to supply into Europe. So I don't think, this is not something you should swear about or try to avoid or agonize about. It's really about embracing it and making the best you can. And if we do have a collaborative approach of this, because we're all in the same boat here, everybody in the cell supply chain or battery supply chain will have to comply. So if we get transparent data handling between companies through the whole supply chain, I think that is the way that we can conquer this.
Yeah, it will be interesting also to see how this can maybe come to other countries or other regions, right? Because now you mentioned if you come to the European market, you have to comply. Yeah. And actors like in China and others are preparing for that. But of course, there's some markets where you don't have to do it yet.
Yeah.
So the question is, how quick will this maybe adapt, or will it be a topic of, if you have to do it once, why do it different for another use case?
No, exactly, and I think exactly that, right? For those players who want to be global, they are probably just going to do it blanket, right? It's easier. I do it once, and then I have my standard. But of course, there are players who want to stay local and avoid it, absolutely. But in the long run, I think this will really propagate. It's the rings on the water here.
Great. And if you then talk a bit about ESS, right, as an application, stationary, energy storage, And of course, we spoke also in other podcast sessions about different chemistries and, the rise of LFP, for example. So maybe you can share a bit of your perspective on the chemistry side, NMC, LFP, etc.
Yeah, and it's quite interesting how fast this development is now. And it's not just the chemistry; it's also on the solid state, and then it's all of the new materials as well that could be for future, right? But I think the NMC, I mean, if just idealizing, I think NMC will be out of BESS in the near future. And most are moving towards LFP at this stage, and I think within not too distant future we will be seeing the sodium ion. And I think definitely sodium ion will be the dominating chemistry. Maybe not 5 years from now, but certainly 10 years from now. It all depends on how quickly that industrialization and commercialization can progress.
Yeah, super interesting, and I think probably also from a stability, right? Because that's the one thing I've seen so far, at least the test results, that wouldn't be as stable. And of course for ESS, that's one of the things you really want, right? These really high numbers of cycles.
Absolutely. And we're already seeing 20, 25 years of life of many of the ESS systems that are out there now that are being sold today.
And I think that's also a requirement. I've seen 20 years plus, right? Like warranties, which is a bit longer than maybe 8 years or so in automotive. So that's, I think, also one of the why LFP was raising so quick, because it's just so stable over
Definitely.
time.
And the safety as well. The safer the cell, the easier your permit process for your whole ESS park. You also have less requirements for active cooling systems within your BESS, which takes a lot of the cost out. So there are so enormous benefits with LFP versus NMC already today.
And something we maybe not addressed much for now, but also if you know, of course, from a recycling topic, it's another challenge to make a cost work. There's also another topic, maybe not recycling, but second life applications is something people talk about, especially in a stationary context. But also know it's not that easy, let's say it this way. So what are your thoughts on that?
I actually don't think it makes sense, if I'm completely honest. The batteries in the cars today, they're too good. They last very, very long. They may even outlast the car itself. That's the whole challenge in the recycling business now, right? That the batteries in the car, they're still out there on the roads, so they're not actually coming back. And also, if you're looking at the cells, you want quite different characteristics, quite different requirements on the performance for a cell, for an EV, or for energy storage. So it doesn't really make sense from that perspective either. And lastly, it's also about the life, right? Why would you put a cell at 70% state of health and expect it to live another 25 years in an energy storage? I'm not sure that will actually compute. So no, I think it's better to really, really push the batteries in the cars for as long as you can and retain the life of the battery in the car. Perhaps it's better to do repair strategies or what Tesla is doing in terms of how they actually extend the state of charge range over time. And then actually have very, very efficient recycling instead.
That's a really valid point. I had one podcast episode a while back now where there was actually a company who was using Second Life, and they could actually sell them pretty much at the premium because they said it's more environmental friendly. This was one curious thing and for the same cost, but I think, as you say, also the challenge was they couldn't give necessarily the same lifetime or like the same warranties, which I think in the end is really what the industry is looking for, right? Having security. We hear this a lot from the bankers, from the financing. You want to have this warranties as long as you can get them to have the security that you will get your money back.
Yeah, exactly. And now in the BESS we see warranties being 15 years, which is not super uncommon already today. So that will be that's a push. And for sure, I mean, obviously now the big dilemma is that we're mining all of these materials for the batteries rather than having efficient recycling in place currently. But my hopes is, of course, that with the emerging recycling industry, that we will actually see higher and higher recycled percentage materials in the new cells.
Yeah, and I mean it's also part of the EU regulation where you touched on earlier, right? That it has to come through.
Yes.
And maybe we spoke about, I guess, CapEx in some way of, using potentially cheaper sources which maybe don't last as long. So maybe if you look a bit more on the OPEX, or what can be done about OPEX and management, of course, a very important topic. Maybe what's some of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, in the manufacturing side, of course, you know, you have three elements of your costing, right? You have your whole capex up front and the depreciation there. Then you have your raw materials cost. You can influence to some extent with good agreements, right? But then you completely control your own OPEX. So you need to put a lot of effort into that. And then also when you're thinking about your energy storage solutions out there in the field, it's all around the OPEX. What does it cost your customer to actually operate it? And they should be making money from it, not losing it in poor efficiency or large cooling systems or whatever it might be, right? So it's all about making sure that your OPEX is as low as possible. And you need a lot of effort in that space.
Fantastic. Now with this, I think we're going to close it for today. But I really appreciate, Lina, your thoughts, and also on the stationary and the BESS topic. It's, I think, a very important one. We also heard at this conference, we need a lot of more renewable energies. We need a lot more storage. So wishing you all the best with your exciting venture there.
Yeah, great, thank you. And I think, I mean, Europe's been so focused on the EV and e-mobility, and actually the BESS is coming now because of the renewable energy, and just as you say.
Fantastic. And with
Thank
this,
you for having me.
Thanks for being here. And yeah, with this, thanks everyone for listening and watching. My name is Dr. Simon Inke. I'm the founder and chair of Battery Associates. And with this, hopefully talk to you very soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.